G'day Bomber fans, draft coming up as I've said a billion times. I had a video suggestion from Steve telling me to do a phantom draft of the first 10 or 15 selections. I liked the idea, so I decided to expand it. Today I'm going to do a really quick phantom draft up until our third selection, which is probably going to be our last. So I'm going to put my list manager's hat on for every team and select the players they need or want most in my eyes. Keep in mind for any other fans from other teams watching, I'm not as knowledgeable on other clubs as I am with Essendon. In saying that, I've tried my best to draft each player based on what I think the club would do. I'm not just going to leave Harley Reid on the table for Essendon to draft with pick 11. Now also, for anyone that isn't an Essendon fan watching, I'm just going to whiz through other teams. I will give very brief reasons as to why I draft certain players, and I'm going to take my time a bit more with Essendon selections. If you want a less biased view on the draft, head over to my other channel, AFL 101. I release weekly videos over there, and at the moment it's all about the draft. I'm probably going to do another mock draft over there after more team by team research, so head over there for that. But that's enough talking, let's just get into it. Alrighty, so let's look at the first 10 picks real quick. Harley Reid is the best player in the draft, so the Eagles take him. I think if I'm an opposing team, I'm bidding on Jed Walter as soon as possible to get Gold Coast acting. He's also just a star, so Gold Coast match him with 2. North 3 and 4, I look at Zane Duursma. He's a player that you can build a team around in different areas, which I think is really important for a young side. He's a dynamic and powerful forward and midfielder. Colby McKercher, I feel like their midfield as it is right now, you got LDU, Wardlaw, it needs a bit of class, and no midfielder in this draft is as classy as McKercher. Pick 5, Hawthorn. They desperately need key defensive talent. Dan Curtin can play back, forward, and midfield even. He's a bit of a unicorn, really good looking player, so I'm going to select him with Hawthorn's pick 5. I'd be bidding on Ethan Reid if I'm a club outside of the top 5. I think there's a clear top 5, and Reid is probably the next best. So the Dogs bid, Gold Coast match. If I'm the Bulldogs now, I'm taking Nick Watson. It gives you some forward firepower on ground level. Him and Cody Waitman under Ugle-Hagan and Norton is nasty. Riley Sanders, best available option for Melbourne, really. Lark Medal winner. Picks 9 and 10, important selections for us. I think we see our best possible options gone, though. I think O'Sullivan fits what the Giants are building in defence. He will take a few years to be at that top level that we can see him get to, but by that stage, he would have learnt under Taylor. And Caddy to the Cats, that just makes sense to me, especially with all the aging forwards they have, so that is my top 10. Now, here is our first selection. Pick 11, we could take Caleb Windsor, Darcy Wilson, Colton Tholstrup. I personally rate James Leake the most. I think he is such a natural footballer, played defence for Allies, forward for Tassie. He just knows what to do wherever he is. So calm, so collected, so trustworthy. I look at the players in this range. Leake gives off 200 gamer vibes to me, so that is who I would select with what is available on the board. The rest, as you can see, Windsor finds a home at Adelaide, who need outside run. Wilson goes to Melbourne, best available option again, really. Ollie Murphy to the Swans, they need key defensive coverage. Tholstrup can add a new dimension to that Saints engine room that lacks real pace and power at times. Hardiman to Adelaide to give them some run off halfback with Brodie Smith aging. And Will Green to North, they need a big ruck to replace Todd Goldstein, so that's who goes there. And of course there are matched bids. Jordan Croft, key forward to the Dogs. Jake Rogers, midfielder to the Suns. And Will McCabe, father-son to the Hawks, key defender. No-brainers. Alright, now I'm going to buzz through the next 10 selections because we do not feature. Harry D. Mattia to GWS kind of makes sense. It gives them that little mosquito fleet operator like Toby Green, but for the midfield. Kind of pass the torch down a bit. Lance Collard and Archie Roberts to North gives them class on both ends of the field. And you look at their draft haul in this scenario, Duursma, McKercher, Green, Collard, and Roberts. That is a fantastic blend if you ask me. It's not worth trading for pick 1, in my opinion. George Stevens to Collingwood, low ceiling but ready-made option. He can play a role earlier than most in this draft, which could be handy for a contending team. Ari Schoenmaker to Adelaide, they need key backs, and Schoenmaker, although undersized, is terrific with his body and even better with ball in hand. His left foot is incredible. Archer Reed, brother of Zach, taken by Saints in my mind. Try and give them another young key forward to get keen for. I do like Owens and King, but I think Owens is more mobile. Membry getting on. I think Reed has layers as well, which could be handy. Charlie Edwards to Carlton, talented midfielder to look forward to, and that is the end of the first round of the draft. 27 selections, quite a few matched bids. We get James Leake. I'd be happy with that. Obviously, I would prefer O'Sullivan or Caddy, but Leake is fantastic as well. 28, West Coast, Zane Zakostelski. Bit unknown, hard to get a gauge on where he sits, but he is a West Aussie product. Super athletic, may as well take a punt, got nothing to lose. Mitch Edwards to Geelong. I think they need more young ruck depth for the future. At the moment, they are pretty lean in that position. Ashton Moyer to Carlton. I feel like the Blues are a team that can afford to take a risk on a player like Moyer, who do could be anything. Could be a star, could be a flop. Richmond enter the draft. I think Tao Jath could inject some real speed off halfback. Rioli is nearing 30. He's 27 or 28 next year. In a few years, Jath could be ready to take his role. Brisbane, Taylor Goad, I reckon speaks out to me the most. I feel like it could give them another bully ruck to look forward to. And now it's us. We are on the board. I look at a few things we need most. We need a key forward, a big-bodied midfielder, general defender. I think the selection that makes the most sense here is Logan Morris. He might be jumping the gun a bit, but he is a strong forward, can play in the reserves early. Less work needs to be done on his body, which I think is handy. I think he's pretty underrated as well. So I have us taking the undersized key forward option to give us another young one to look forward to. We move on. Collingwood, Angus Hastie, general defender that can rebound really well. You look at who they lose in a few years, Pendlebury, Markov, Crisp, Maynard. They're all going to be over 30 in 3 years. By that time, Hastie will be in his early 20s, hopefully ready to take over. Or not hopefully for us Bomber fans. Will Graham matched Collingwood, Gold Coast bid. Freo, they need to replace Lockie Schultz, so I bring in Phoenix Gothard. I was thinking him or West Aussie Cohen Sanchez, but Gothard looks the better player. Now it's us again, pick 37. This is where it's really a flip of the coin. You can draft for needs, try a risk or an unknown. I kind of want to do both. Luamon Lual, rebounding halfback flanker. I think it's a position we need filled. Heppel, Kelly, Hind, all getting older. In 2 years, we might only have McGrath and Redmond that can play that role. So I like the idea of bringing in a rebounding defender that can bring excitement to the team, like Luamon Lual. And that's that. That is our third selection. So let's summarize what we've done in this draft scenario. All right, so pick 11. In this scenario, we get James Leake, a mature utility, can genuinely play anywhere. I liken him a bit to Miles Bergman from Port in that regard. He is just a really clever footballer, not rough and tough like many want, but his footy IQ is borderline unmatched, I'd say. I really rate this kid a lot. I think he can bring a lot to our team for the future. If we were to draft him, he would be an ideal choice if we were to miss out on O'Sullivan and Caddy. Pick 31, which turned into 34 or 33, I don't really remember, to be honest. Logan Morris, he is a big, tough operator. Key forward, I'm going to say he's a bit like Pat Voss in the way he plays, but higher rated for where he is now compared to Voss in his draft year. He has shown more, really strong, clean hands in a marking contest, gets in great positions. He has a great attitude. Crashing marker that can kick a snag. I like him a lot. I think he's I'm not comparing him to Voss because of quality. I think he plays like Voss. He's a much better option than Voss, I'd say. And finally, pick 37, Luamon Lual, a Bulldogs Academy player that here we'd be taking before pick 40, so we get him. Rebounding halfback flanker, bases his game off CJ Jath from Hawthorn, but you would have to argue that he is ahead of Jath at this stage of his career. He's a really fluid mover, loves to take the game on, certainly needs to work on some aspects, but he is really exciting in full flight. He can tear zones apart through speed. It's something we've lacked since we lost Sard and McKenna. I love Hind, but he isn't on that level. I reckon Lual, if he was to reach his potential, could be around that Jath, well, hopefully better than Jath, but around that rebounding game-changing level. I think the scenario I have there is also pretty handy because it gives us depth across areas while also giving us a shot at best available options. James Leake can genuinely change play for most areas for his size. He won't be a ruck or a key positional player, but he's really handy utility that can gain experience in multiple different roles. We get a key positional player, Logan Morris, and then you have a rebounding defender, which I personally think we really need. That is depth. It gives you players that could play next year, but also players that are more suited for the future if they turn out all right. And it gives us a chance to have a ping at some more uncertain options in the rookie draft as well. So that is that. Let me know what you think down below. I went through this all pretty quickly when I jotted down the order, so I could have missed someone to throw out the draft order a bit. Cheers for the video idea again, Steve. This was fun to make. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and go Bombers.